Hey everyone, welcome to Film Talk, an audiovisual podcast where two gals talk film, television, and everything in between the reels. I'm your host, Eliana Melendez, head of marketing and a critic here at FullCircleCinema.com. And as always, I am joined today by my lovely co-host, Miss Josie Melendez.
Hello.
And we're just today's gonna be kind of a more casual, a little more chill episode. Not that
very chill.
Yeah, not that we're particularly formal at any moment, but it's gonna be a little bit more freestyled. We're gonna talk about Loki in particular, episode 3, because if you have not seen already, you should probably be subscribed and turn on your notifications. Our editor-in-chief, Jackson Hayes, and managing editor, Marcos Melendez, also reviewed episode 1 of Loki, and then another member of our team, Colin Stetzer, along with Jackson Hayes, reviewed episode 2. Both episodes and both reviews are on the Full Circle Network channel here on YouTube, available to listen to, so you can go check those out if you want something a little bit more in-depth on those first 2 episodes of Loki. We're kind of dive into it. Episode 3 just came out. It was the shortest episode out of the 3 episodes so far, which was a little surprising. Jarring. Yeah. I was kind of confused because episode 1 and 2, they were a full hour long basically, and they were juicy episodes.
Standard drama, 1 hour television.
Yeah, very very much limited series length, because it's only 6 episodes that we're getting here. We're back to the Falcon and Winter Soldier era a little bit, but this last episode, Lamentis, I think it's also titled. I always get the episode titles mixed up, but this last episode was Lamentis. So yeah, this episode was only about 36 minutes. I also wrote a review that's a little bit more detailed about this episode over on the FullCircleCinema.com website, so you want to check that out as well and get my official grade.
Be linked below.
It's all down there. So yeah, we have Loki content galore. So we're just going to keep it a little bit more casual. I have my green lights here if you guys are watching us on YouTube, but for those of you not watching, Miss Josie has merch lined up.
I have my merch. Burdened with glorious purpose, little pouch, and my little bobblehead Loki. So
yes.
We're ready.
We're ready.
The Lord of Mischief to this room.
Yeah, I feel the Lord of Mischief in this Chili's tonight.
Make that a meme.
Honestly, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Just heads up. I probably already, it's probably already here. So enjoy it. Enjoy the memes. I really feed y'all for free. I digress. Yeah. With that being said, let's kind of very quickly, if you guys haven't seen the first 2 episodes discussions, quickly skim what has happened. Loki 2012, the 2012 version of Loki that we see in Avengers Endgame. We finally see where he ends up. He gets taken by this timeline, the sacred timeline protective agency called the TVA. Mm-hmm. Very much kind of, a parody of the FBI, very bureaucratic, and their whole shtick is protecting the sacred timeline, making sure we don't have any Nexus events, which we'll get into a little bit later.
If I could wink, I would wink, but yeah, pretend I'm winking. Nexus, haha.
You can't wink?
No, I can't. Fun fact.
We're learning new things in the studio today. I'll wink for you. There you go. You can double wink
twice. Double wink.
She can wink with both eyes at the same time, y'all. It's
Absolutely.
Kind of a talent.
I keep doing it. I promise I'm not flirting with anyone.
No, that would be like the Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark moment. You just write "love you" on your lids in a classroom. Anyways, we've already gone off. So yeah, 2012, Loki, TVA. usually with variants, which is what they're calling each other, this Loki variant that is not part of, the original plan of the sacred timeline, is kind of set up to be destroyed from existence, because he's not supposed to be a thing, and he kind of messes up the timeline. But Mr. Agent Mobius comes in, which is Owen Wilson's character, and kind of plays, that very typical detective that's stuck on a murder case that's been happening and just been a really big pain in his butt in where he's working, in his place of work. So he sees the opportunity present itself with this Loki variant and sees a way to possibly solve the case. There's a murder mystery going on. So we get into it. The episode 1 just kind of focuses on Loki as a character, and very, very surprisingly gets a lot done, in my opinion, in terms of development, in just under 60 minutes. And visually, really lovely. Kate Herron, who's been directing the series so far, fabulous. I'm gonna get into her direction later. But yeah, that was basically episode 1. Episode 2 very much kind of got into that Sherlock and Watson dynamic between Agent Mobius and Loki. Loki's really coming into his own as a character in a not completely different, but a very quirky and distinct way than his development, during the sacred timeline. What we've seen so far in the MCU before his untimely death. So yeah, that's kind of how the series been going so far up until the end of episode 2. Got a big reveal. Spoiler alert, Lady Loki is, the big, I don't want to say serial killer because it's not really what's happening. But she's the actual person behind the murders. And it kind of cracked the case here, thanks to Loki. Very interesting twist. And kind of an early reveal for episode 2, though it is a limited series. So now you guys are kind of caught up on the gist of it. And naturally, Loki goes after this Loki variant, who later reveals herself to be named Sylvie. And they get stuck together in episode 3 on this. I can't remember if it's a planet or a moon. I'm pretty sure it's a planet that's going to be crashed into by a moon, or the other way around. Either way.
I think it's the other way around, but either way. It's that I thought it was the first way, and then the second time I watched it, and I think it's that a moon, like the planet is going to crash into the moon. But either way, something is crashing into something else.
Yeah, there are 2 objects in space that are crashing into each other, and they're large enough for you to land on, and then it has its own atmosphere, yada yada. So they basically jump to like the year 2077, something like that.
Yeah, it's an apocalyptic event. And it'll be the destruction of this society that they've encountered, and they're basically stuck there.
Yeah, with no way out. And they really do try to... the episode kind of goes between them trying to kill each other and also survive with each other. So there's an interesting dynamic there. We definitely shift from the Sherlock and Watson to... almost a Sherlock and Sherlock sort of a deal.
Yeah. To me, so I remember when this show was initially pitched, like the idea that there was going to be a Loki series, etc., it was presented as Loki traveling through time and rearranging historic events. So I thought we were going to get something more serial, especially like kind of a Doctor Who situation.
Right.
And we're not going through that, though the Doctor Who aesthetic is present, especially in this 3rd episode. I definitely could see it. It felt a lot like the Doctor and a companion kind of situation, where, like, not to say that one is lesser than the other, but it definitely had that dynamic, and especially the visuals. Like, it felt like a Doctor Who episode, which I think
it was very much the one,
two, but this one kind of stuck it.
Like that episode with 10 and 11. Where you had 2 doctors and they were just kind of like comparing their experiences.
Yeah, that all of them were there.
Right. I forget the title of that episode. It was a very good episode of Doctor Who. But yeah, that was like definitely
all 4
the dynamic.
doctors, right?
I
There was a
think
little
so, because you had like 10, 11, and then 9 came in as like a little thing, a little cameo, and
Yeah.
then you also had
And
like
then
an
there was
older
the other one that
doctor.
was like, yeah, the first Doctor, I think it was. I don't remember. I saw
Or
this
the
when it aired.
fourth.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't remember. But yeah,
We are
it had that vibe.
veterans.
It had that vibe. It was
So yeah.
fun. I'm team episode 3 is cool. I liked episode 3.
I'm team episode 3 could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate episode 3. It's settled more with me now. It's been like what, 4 days now by this point, for us anyway. And upon initial viewing, I was like, well, that was disappointing because it felt like we didn't really make any progress story-wise, especially when you're at the halfway point of a limited series. Like this is episode 3. We only have 3 more episodes left. If we had say 8 episodes, I would have forgiven this episode.
Which is the common consensus. Yeah.
Yeah, so I appreciate the aesthetic. I appreciate the character development that we did get. It felt a lot more intimate. That I do agree with. That's kind of also what's been agreed upon in terms of talking about this episode. I really like Sylvie. I think she is really cool as a Loki variant and is definitely going to be like a classic Loki character to refer to. Definitely still shaded with a lot of mystery. And
yeah, she definitely kind of outshines Tom Hiddleston a little bit in this episode.
Which I'm really happy about because I feel like Tom Hiddleston also kind of let her, like, he gave her that stage. So he wasn't as Loki-like in this episode because he dominated obviously episodes 1 and 2. So I appreciate the space that was given for Sylvie, but yeah, my major gripe with this episode is the runtime, because if we had gotten maybe 5-10 more minutes, it would have felt like we've gotten a little bit further. Even if it still ended the way that it ended, I feel like I think we would have accomplished a bit more.
Yeah,
so.
I was actually disappointed with how it ended because it was very abrupt. Though I did like that long shot, that one take. That was nice. Though I could definitely see how it was choreographed. I could definitely see where probably someone was yelling, "Okay, turn around now." But other than that, it was fun. It was a nice little tidbit for the episode. Though I do wish it hadn't ended there, because you could definitely tell that it was just a cliffhanger for spectacle and just to keep you on your toes for the next episode. Like, oh, they're in doom, and then the next episode, like Doctor Who, like, you know how Doctor Who usually has at least like two-parters in one season. It felt like that.
Right. This was definitely a part 1 of an episode. That's really how it felt like, and that I think it's just that decision, that choice in structure is what really kind of, I wasn't mad at it. It didn't grind my gears or anything. It really ground my gears. No, it just didn't quite jive with me because it felt so out of place. Yes, I said jive. It wasn't jiving with me, Josie. Get with it. So I wasn't jiving or thriving with this episode because it just kind of stood out a little, and not in the best way. It just felt kind of out of place with the tone that had already been established. They kind of got us used to the tone, the structure. We got a routine going, and they just kind of threw that out the window.
They shifted it.
Yeah, they shifted it, and I just feel like if you're going to shift it, I would have done it like at the very end of episode 3 and then continued to episode 4, given the 6-episode structure. But that's just me.
You know, I kept thinking, like, if I were to rank it, episode 3 is my second favorite. Episode 2 continues to be my favorite because it's the only one I've rewatched more than once. And
it's really good.
Yeah, episode 2 is really good. And then my least favorite is actually episode 1. Episode 1 for me was too slow. The way everyone feels about episode 3 is how I feel about episode 1.
I like episode 1 because it does feel like an intro episode, and it definitely builds up a lot. So I get what you mean, because it is kind of a slow episode, but I enjoyed the setup, and I enjoyed that we didn't rush through, because this is a brand new Loki, basically.
Yeah.
I like how we didn't rush through this Loki without those, 7-ish years of character development in the MCU.
It wouldn't have been genuine or beneficial for the show if they had just jumped with his character development. Because it is essentially an old Loki, and you have to go through that. So I liked how it was gradual. In terms of his development. That I didn't mind. It was mostly, I don't know. Again, episode 3, I just liked episode 3 more.
Yeah, I feel like episode 3 will eventually grow on me, but it's definitely not my favorite so far. But we shall see what the next 3 episodes hold in store for us.
We can look forward to episode 5 because apparently that is the director's favorite.
Oh, I'm really enjoying Kate Herron's directing. Yeah. Bisexual lighting? Hello? We also got Loki confirmed to be... I mean, they're saying... the director said that this is confirming he's bisexual, even though it's a little bit open. Really exciting, though. I really, really like how there was no... How do I put it? Like, just blatant queer baiting. It wasn't vague. It was just a direct, he's bisexual. And he, basically said it himself in the episode, as well as basically Sylvie as... when they were talking about their experiences. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of people could argue that, oh, his sexuality is totally irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Untrue. That I can't say anything else other than that. It's just let's forget about representation for a second here. Past what this means in terms of representation and positive bisexual representation in media. His sexuality is part of who he is. He's literally the god of mischief. Though I am hoping to see that Loki is, in the comments, this is canon, that he is, or they are, a gender fluid being in the Marvel universe. So I hope that they don't really tiptoe around that either. I like how they're teasing that Loki can take on any form that they want. Especially with, the Loki variant of Sylvie. But I was just really hoping for a little bit more background on Sylvie in this episode. You don't have to reveal the whole thing, but we still don't know where Sylvie came from. Don't know Sylvie's motivations. Don't know Sylvie's plan. We have more or less a vague idea, and I really hope that we get a better idea by next episode. Because I feel like they're really taking Sylvie super slow from what has happened in this episode, which I get. I'm not saying that Sylvie was going to immediately just kind of spill the beans on everything, but let's let a little something slip. But Sylvie has clearly been set up to be a very careful and untrusting character. Like, she definitely has been through it, and most likely has not had the best life experiences or upbringing as this, our Loki, I'm going to say. This is our 2012 Loki.
One detail I've been noticing ever since her reveal is that one of the horns on her bandana is broken.
Yeah.
I don't know the story behind that.
Right. I kind of brushed it off at first, because I was like, oh, she probably lost that in like a fight or something whilst doing the whole thing, because she did end up like trying to attack the TVA and she got into a tumble, but it was broken the whole time, wasn't it? Even that initial reveal. So there must be a story behind that, which I hope that we will get into eventually. Maybe that's kind of like the segue into her actual backstory. Because consider us intrigued.
Because it's a very noticeable detail. I feel like it's something that maybe it's just for aesthetic, but it does add curiosity to this character and where they've been, what they've done, what is their purpose, what is their glorious purpose, what are they trying to do, what are they trying to get out of this, why are they doing this? So we're still waiting to answer those questions.
Yeah. Aside from that, it's still a good episode. I gave it, I gripe on it, but like I still gave it a 7 out of 10. So it's not that serious.
It leaves you wanting more, which is good, but there comes a point where you need at least a little bit there to keep you going. Like a cliffhanger, it doesn't cut it all the time.
Yeah, I feel like it was really dependent on that one shot scene and that cliffhanger, and that's about
Which
it.
was fun. Again, that one shot, it was fun.
It was very fun.
I had my things with it because you could tell that, like, of course, it was staged. You could tell that they were doing this probably for spectacle or anything, but either way, it was fun. I like seeing them work together after we, like, where they started at the beginning of the episode to how it ends. I love that development between the two of them, and I love how they're bouncing off each other a lot better now. So it was nice to see that, and to see how they sort of have started to give each other hope, like in that specific situation, like regardless of what's happening with the rest of the world within this series, like what was happening with them there, the fact that they could die. To see them kind of give each other a little bit of hope and optimism was very interesting, considering they're kind of pessimistic characters despite their charisma and everything. Like, they don't see the world as this bright place. There is a lot of hurt and pain within them that they're clearly trying to compensate for. So again, it was nice to see them actually bond and just have genuine nice moments.
Yeah, I really like the train scene, though. I must say, the train scene, where they even end up like discussing what is love, and Loki kind of
love is a dagger.
Love is a dagger, love is mischief. Like they still weren't really quite sure. There was no like perfect definitive answer for them, and I think that's like the beauty of these kind of existential philosophical conversations and debates. So I enjoyed that. It was very Loki like. Yeah, I think aside from that, in terms of endgame for this series, it's definitely not what we expected, like you said. Like, it's definitely not just Loki kind of milling about in the past and changing historical events as has been established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can't actually change what's already happened. You can just create like alternative timeline branches, which really, as we heard, causes more chaos.
Yeah, which was touched in Endgame. So, like, with the Ancient One, when they were discussing the sacred timeline. But, like, if you put things back, then it should all rearrange. But the problem with this series is that clearly, like, the most obvious assumption to make about where this show might go is that we are creating alternate timelines that will reach the red line and create a Nexus event and, like, open the multiverse. And that's what we want to do, right? Because we want the multiverse of madness. That is the end game, is it not? So that is what we're hoping will happen, to create a clear line into what's going to be multiverse of madness with Doctor Strange and Wanda, etc.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is I understand the criticism towards having the series just solely depend on being a setup for another thing, but luckily this doesn't feel like that so far. It definitely stands on its own, and I find it very entertaining. I'm loving the characters. I think Owen Wilson has been doing great. I missed Owen Wilson in this episode, actually. That was probably why I was so sad with it. I was like, I just want Owen.
Yeah. But also, one thing to note is that Kevin Feige did say, when it came to WandaVision specifically, and it should apply to every single MCU series that we've been seeing. So Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and now Loki, that they're not supposed to be completely linked with the MCU in terms of films. Like, the TV shows are supposed to stand on their own. Like, that is what he said with WandaVision, which is why a lot of things didn't happen the way that we expected them to in the finale. So, at most, what could happen with the show is that it might be leading up to something that we think will happen that will set up Multiverse of Madness, but something will probably happen that we're not expecting, and then maybe the multiverse, like, that happens entirely in the Doctor Strange film.
Yeah, I like the Doctor Strange film being more contained that way. Though I enjoyed the teases. The teases are fun, and they definitely keep things interesting. Exactly.
Yeah, because Wanda, like, the end credit scene from WandaVision, spoiler, but if you're watching this, you've probably already seen it. When we see her practicing her magic and trying to make herself stronger and everything, that is clearly a setup. But it's just a tidbit. They're teases. They're teasing us
It's
But
very classic for the MCU too.
yeah,
It's not
they're
original
not
to
directly
WandaVision.
connected, so they can stand. Each thing can stand on its own and be its own thing. So that's what I'm hoping for when it comes to the finale of the show.
Yeah. I'm excited though. Definitely another thing that I think is endgame for the show in particular, and more contained within the show, I would assume, is the timekeepers. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is like a really, really big buildup of, okay, so it's just these three lizard men or beings or
Mm-hmm.
aliens that basically decide what happens and who does what, and this is what is supposed to happen. And obviously Loki being the god of mischief, I'm pretty sure, because he has said it, and I'm pretty sure he hasn't been saying it just to throw Sylvie off. His ultimate goal is to, at the very least, find an audience with the timekeepers, because he's not
Yeah.
just gonna, let the TVA be the TVA. This is very much, it's very
Yeah.
authoritarian.
They
And
both want the same thing, but Loki's whole thing is that, of course, he wants to be in charge of an incredible power. Which
exactly.
is why in that first episode, when he's like, is the TVA this great power in the universe? Like, is it greater because they have those Infinity Stones? Are they the ultimate power keepers of the world beyond time? Like, if you control time, you have a lot of power.
Mm-hmm.
So at most, like you could say that he probably wants to rule the TVA up to a certain point and just be a part of it instead of like disappearing entirely. So that's one thing we can look forward to, especially him competing with Sylvie for their attention, if they're really there, because some people, are saying that they're not there. So let's see. But either way, I did find very interesting how I had to rewind when Sylvie called the TVA fascists, and I'm like, oh.
With that, I have a very different interpretation of Loki's moment with the Infinity Stones being thrown around like they're paperweights.
Yeah.
I thought, and I interpret it, I see it as Loki seeing his whole glorious purpose as literally meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
Just doesn't matter. What's the point of holding all the power? What are you going to do with it? I feel like his grief, more than anything, is not so much overthrowing the TVA to take over that power, but be a little bit more mischievous and just overthrow the TVA so the universe is chaos, to let every variant be free, especially with the reveal from this episode where they're told that all the people that work at the TVA were just created by the timekeepers, but they're not. They're regular people that were born, they had lives, they're variants themselves that are working at the TVA. So there's a lot of shadiness going around with the TVA, the timekeepers, their motivations and their history. So I'm excited to see that, and I feel like Loki, so far from what I'm feeling, and I feel like Sylvie is more or less on this same track of just complete freedom, complete annihilation of this fascist authoritarian power over the entire universe. And I think that is what's really going to lead into Multiverse of Madness, because as we saw in the beginning of the series, the whole point of the TVA and the Timekeepers was that there was a multiverse war.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to be the primary timeline, the primary reality, and they couldn't all exist in peace at the same time. So we'll see how that works out. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into like a multiverse regulatory agency. So we have these different timelines, but there's like a truce or perhaps like a treaty between timelines and multiverses, and you eventually just have people like hopping back and forth, not to mess things up, but rather just to keep the peace. And I think that could also lead into what we're being teased with.
Yeah, because they make
No Way Home.
the TVA makes it seem as if there's only one,
right?
Like the one sacred timeline, when really there are alternate timelines and there are multiverses already existing. It's just they want to control that sole one. So it's gonna be interesting seeing how everything else plays out, because of course there's Wanda trying to get her sons back and Vision, then, like, with the tease with America Chavez that she's supposed to be in this film, we know that she can, like, blast through different multiverses with, like, her fists. So there's also that added bit there.
She can literally square up between multiverses. Yeah.
She can literally, like, fight the multiverse and be like, I'm gonna be here. TVA, where you at? I decide where I want to go. I'm cool like that because we love America Chavez in this house.
Amen.
And then with Doctor Strange trying to keep the peace with everything now, because as the Ancient One said in Endgame, now he has that viewpoint and he has to protect, like, the sole purpose of the world and everything, like the sacred timeline. So it's kind of that TVA mindset. So it's going to be also interesting to see how Doctor Strange faces this.
He's literally the road trip chaperone of multiverses.
He's driving.
He's driving and everyone's just like, McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's.
He's picking up people as they go.
Yeah, they're all, like, fighting in the back. Nobody wants to put their seatbelt on, and he's just like, stop it. So that's going to be interesting. And yeah, so far so good with Loki. Very pleasantly surprised. Kind of moving its way up to number 1. I think it might overtake, depending on how it ends, it might overtake WandaVision for me.
Yeah, if it sticks the landing, because the thing about WandaVision is that it did not stick the landing for most people. I personally, it's my favorite show right now, and then of course Loki is second, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier third. But
they got a lot to compete with, man.
Loki has a chance of upstaging.
Most likely. And you know what? I'm not, no hate to WandaVision. I also very much love and adore WandaVision. I'm rooting for Loki, though, because Loki is, like, the one, in spite of what WandaVision did as being the most, like, quote-unquote experimental, Loki's the one that's been the most, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it's definitely been pushing boundaries for what we've been used to in the MCU. And I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot.
I think also WandaVision did a good place in setting that up for them.
Yes. WandaVision jogged so that Loki could run the marathon.
Yeah, because as we said in our previous film talk, like the first film talk we ever did covering an MCU show, WandaVision, our expectations for Loki were basically that it would probably be up in the same realm as WandaVision in terms of style and everything and pushing boundaries, because of course Falcon the Winter Soldier was supposed to be a little bit more low-key, more realistic with that realism. And we're back to convolutedness and kookiness and flair.
Fantasy. We're back to the fantasy aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I'm excited for that. Also, love how they just immediately crushed the more Mephisto tease that they did in the first episode.
Yes.
And it made sense, and it worked.
We're not going to mention it again.
No, because, like, it makes sense because the kid was like, oh, it was the devil. Sylvie has horns.
Yeah.
So naturally they thought Sylvie was the devil because it was, like, medieval times. So I like that. I appreciate that. I respect that. I respect you keeping us humble, Miss Kate Herron. And I forgot the showrunner, like the writer's name. My bad. But yeah, a lot of respect for Loki. Episode 3, for me, not its most shining moment, but still good quality content. And Disney Plus is still going strong. Gonna be very interesting to follow this up with Hawkeye, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes, I'm excited. But yeah,
we are here for Haley Steinfeld. That is it. We are here for Miss Dickinson.
But yeah, I think that's all on Loki.
That pretty much wraps things up for our thoughts on Loki. Lots of hype, lots of excitement, and #Loki Wednesdays. Very, 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 very enjoyable day of the week to watch Loki and keep us just, looking forward to the weekend. Where can they find you, Miss Josie?
You can find me at the Josie Marie on Twitter and Letterboxd, and you can find Film Posers at Film Posers practically everywhere.
And you can find me at Captain Melendez on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also find us and our articles on FullCircleCinema.com, and definitely follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FullCircleCine. And of course, everything will be linked down below. Be sure to subscribe to Full Circle Network here on YouTube. And be sure to also subscribe to Film Talk on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast, if you want to have us, up to date and in just an audio form. Though we do go through the effort to look real cute on camera.
Yes.
So give us a little bit of love.
Also, Mad and Raving is finally live, which we teased in our Quiet Place review. And yeah, catch up on that because Film Talk is going to be having an episode. So basically, Ileana is my guest for the second episode of Mad and Raving. So you can find those wherever you stream podcasts.
She is the captain now. Very fun episode. We actually recorded it earlier, so if you guys are into more niche, I could say a little bit more niche film talks,
if you want more of us, like more of this duo,
this duo. Yeah, it's a very fun episode. We chit chat about some of Richard Madden's filmography, as it will continue to go on as the series progresses. Also, quick announcement. I almost forgot before we leave. Film Talk is not going on hiatus, but our scheduling will be a little bit kooky because we are, if you haven't heard, which it's kind of weird because we've been talking about it for a hot minute on our social media, Josie and I are officially attending the 74th annual Festival de Cannes. Yes. I'm excited. We got officially accredited as press with Full Circle Cinema, so we will be going to France in a week and hopefully covering the festival, covering the films that we'll be able to see. Hopefully we are able to have like really good access to internet and be able to keep the Full Circle network going. We have a lot of really fun content planned. Be sure to definitely follow us on our social media because we're going to be documenting most of the trip and our experience, and we're also going to be uploading really fun new things on this channel. So if you are a cinephile, a film lover, or you just, you want to live vicariously through some people who are actually finally traveling, definitely stay subscribed, follow us, and stay tuned. Thank you so much also for listening.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without you guys like listening and supporting Full Circle Network, supporting this podcast, and yeah. Thank you.
Con said, "Ooh, you guys have a cute show there, so we'll let you in." They accepted us as audiovisual press, so thank y'all, and thank you for appreciating the memes that I like to edit in here. I think I'm funny sometimes. Cue the SNL trumpets.
Add them.
I will add them. I really hope I don't get copyright strikes here.
Less than 30 seconds and you're fine.
Okay, awesome.
Unless they changed that. It used to be 30 seconds. But yeah, now you know some YouTube info. Some behind the scenes. But
so yeah,
thank you.
Thank y'all. Before we keep rambling off, we're very excited. Oh my god. Hope y'all have a lovely day. I hope y'all have a good week and a good Loki Wednesday if you're keeping up with Loki.
Enjoy Loki. Enjoy everything that you're watching. Watch Luca if you want to. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's a lot of good stuff on Disney+. There's a lot of good stuff ever streaming right now. So, yeah, we wish you some good streaming and some good films because people are going to the cinema now. So, enjoy.
The cinema. Yeah, and also, I wrote a Loki review, so also link down below. There's going to be a very juicy description today with this episode, so there's lots of things to keep you
we've got a lot of
entertained.
Content. You hungry? We're feeding you.
For free. For free. Anyways, hope y'all have a good one, and bye!
Bye.